So welcome to the first of your 8-week Intro to Yoga program. What's important to realize is, as with any fitness regime or modality, there's a different language, there's certain terminology. So yoga postures have Sanskrit names, asanas, and those can be spoken of in Sanskrit or they can be spoken of in an English layman's term. So as we go along, not only are we going to work with the physical body, but I also want you to become familiar with the different language, with the different posture names. But for today, we're going to start with a very gentle warm-up series, a lot of movements from something that's called the Pawanamuktasan series, which is in Hatha Yoga, how you start before you even get to the sun salutations and the flashy, fancy postures. So coming into a seated position, anything that's comfortable. So currently I'm in easy pose, one leg in front of the other. You're welcome to be cross-legged. And of course, an alternate variation is half lotus. We have full lotus, but we're gonna come to that. So one of the first three, whichever feels most comfortable for you. Alternatively, you can also be on a block underneath the sit bones, so you're a little bit higher if that helps the lower back or helps into the hips. Closing the eyes for me. Just becoming aware of the breath pattern. We call the breathing techniques, or the title for breath work is pranayama or pranayam. Literally translates to breathing techniques. And the first one we're going to learn today is your Ujjayi breath, victorious breath, or ocean's breath. Why it's called ocean's breath or victorious is you should be able to hear a sound on both the inhalation and exhalation. So as you're breathing in through both nostrils, you're taking the breath to the back of the throat and then breathing it out again through the nostrils. So not quite Darth Vader, but not that far away either from him. Okay, so breathing in and breathing out. So if at any stage during the practice this becomes uncomfortable or restricted, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth a few times, but keep coming back to that Ujjayi breath, okay? As the practice becomes a little bit more dynamic, a little bit faster, that's going to be really important to help sustain the movements, to normalize the heart rate, the blood pressure, etc. So taking 3 more deep Ujjayi breaths. Keeping the eyes closed, come to rub the palms together, creating heat in the hands. Cupping the palms over the eyelids, so feeling a little bit of warmth dissipate to the eyelids. Softly blink the eyes open, lowering the hands down the front side of the body, interlacing the fingers, reaching up to the ceiling, lengthen into the spine. And then as you exhale, simply let those fingertips float to the floor. You're gently going to come to place your left hand onto your right knee, turning to look past the right shoulder. Gently release, coming over to the other side. And gently release. Swapping the feet around, whichever foot you have placed to the back or on the bottom, change it up. We're going to softly walk the fingertips over to the side, reaching the arm overhead. Make sure that that hip bone is still pushing back into the floor. Okay? We don't want to hang, so especially if you're hypermobile, you want to be conscious, so creating sensations of push-pull in the body. Inhale to release, tiptoe the fingers over the other side, and again feel the sit bones, that hip pushing back into the floor, reaching the fingertips far away from you. Inhale to come up. And again, same movement, reaching over, arm comes overhead, and this time creates a slight internal rotation, placing the hand onto the floor if you can, being mindful to sit back into that opposite hip, and then really folding over the bent knee. See if the chin or the forehead can touch to the knee or to the floor. If not, you simply keep that chin tucked back to the throat for me. Checking in with the breath, so 3 more of those ujjayi breaths. Inhale, reaching up, taking that arm overhead, fingertips to the floor, same little routine, so you'll notice everything we do to one side, we repeat to the other side. We want to avoid asymmetry, we want as much balance between left and right side of the body as possible. Dropping that extended overhead arm to the floor. Again, sit bones are still creating that push-pull sensation. Chin tucking to the throat, forehead dropping to the knee. Checking in with the quality of your ujjayi breath, creating a little bit of sound as you inhale and exhale through the nostrils. Inhale, gently reaching up and overhead. Swapping the feet around, so you'll catch on soon enough. Inhale, long in the spine. Exhale, creating that push-pull, sitting back to the mat, walking the fingertips as far forward as you can. Stay on your spidey fingers, tucking the chin to the throat. And check that the fingertips are in line with one another. So typically one hand might creep a little bit further forward. Rather tape that back, again, just so we're keeping a nice amount of neutrality between the left and right sides. Softening into the spine, walking the fingertips back up. Placing the hands onto the knees, just gently begin to circle into the trunk. So with repetition, with familiarity, we want to be working to get the trunk as close to the shins as possible as you come into that rotation. Don't worry for now, you should feel the more you move, the more you loosen up. 2 more in this direction. And moving in the opposite way. So there are also a lot of different layers. With familiarity, with progress, we want to know when to inhale, when to exhale, syncing each movement to a breath pattern. So for now, I rather want you to keep the awareness to creating the sound as you breathe in and out. Okay. Working into that ujjayi breath, otherwise if we overload and become too demanding, we're not going to become conscious and mindful of each different technique. 1 more. Well done. Gently release, straightening the legs out, giving them a little bit of a kick. We're going to lift the knees, bring the soles of the feet to touch, hands onto the toes, and slightly start to pulse into your butterfly position. So a small little up and down with the knees, nothing too strong. Well done. Lifting the knees up, we're going to come to straighten them out in front. Okay. Do a few good toes, naughty toes for me. Flex and point. Good. A few more times. Toes are really important to yoga. We're doing a lot of standing, seated, arm balances, inversions barefoot, and there are a lot of nice techniques. And we have the opportunity to really work the proprioception in the feet, mostly because we're barefoot throughout. Come to interlace the hands onto the back of the leg, relaxed in the shoulders, nice and straight in the spine. We're going to straighten up, extend, and soft touch down with the toes. So all of these movements rather be slow, gentle. Try not to rush. Okay, that just creates momentum in the body, hanging in the joints, and the lazy muscles stay lazy. 2 more. Last one. A little bit different. We're going to hook the foot into the opposite elbow, knee to elbow, interlace the fingers, straighten the spine, and give yourself a little rock from side to side. If for any reason that's for now a little inaccessible, holding the hands anywhere that feels comfortable. Okay, so we want to open into that hip joint and get that glute awake and moving. Good. Sliding the hands to the outside, so coming onto the knife edge. I've interlaced my fingers. We're almost creating a rowing movement. So imagine the leg is a massive oar and you're paddling your canoe. Good. 3 more in this direction. So really getting the whole spine, the whole body moving. 1 more in this direction. Good. Going the other way, sliding down the leg, opening up. 3 more. Last one. Good. Sucking the foot on the inside of the leg. So you're going to cup underneath that foot with opposite hand. Same hand to knee. Inhale, little pulse up, and exhale, nice amount of pressure opening into the hip. Okay. Very gentle. Nice and smooth. Yoga doesn't have to be all of the flashy, crazy back bends, although I assure you we're going to get to those. 2 more. Last one. Good. Lifting the knee up, making sure it's tracking straight, lengthening out, and give it a little bit of a shake into the legs. Same thing, opposite side. Open up into the spine, have a nice comfortable grip to the back of the leg. Inhale, lengthen up, soft touch down. Good. 3 more on this leg. Last one. Good. Well done. Coming to create that hook, otherwise known as rock the baby. Check it out. Normal to feel quite different on one hip compared to the other. So remember, there are those adaptations, slight modifications, but you should, I feel, be able to hook and be comfortable in this position. Good. A little bit longer. Notice that on my opposite foot, the toes are still active, pressing up towards the ceiling. Okay, remember, we pay attention to our feet as much as possible. Sliding the hands to the knife edge of the foot, keeping that interlace and coming into that rowing movement. So really coming forward, almost exaggerating as much as possible. 3 more in this direction. Last one. Good. And changing, so sliding the foot down the leg, coming back and opening up. 3 more. Check in with that breath. How are you breathing? Are you managing the nostril breath, the ujjayi breath? Still making a little bit of sound. Hooking the foot into the upper thigh. Holding underneath. Same hand to knee. Inhale to lift up and exhale. A little bit of pressure down. Okay. Neck and shoulders, stay nice and relaxed. 3 more. Last one. Good job. Lifting up, remember knee is tracking straight, extending the leg, and give it a little bit of a shake out. Come to cross over the ankles. So you're going to come onto all fours. From here, encourage the big toes to touch. Knees are nice and wide. Walking the arms out, and you're going to soften into what we call your extended child's pose or balasana. Soften the forehead to the floor. And try and press up so the forearms are actually away from the floor. We're still a little bit active in the posture. Staying here for 3 more breaths. Inhale, shift your weight forward, coming into a tabletop position. We're checking knees are comfortably under the hips, palms are under the shoulders, and you have anything from a fist's gap, a little bit wider, to allow for the knees, as I said, to be under the tops of the hip bones for your cat stretch. Again, you have the option to tuck the toes under or stay flat in the feet. Personally, I prefer to be on the tops of my feet. As you inhale, think of dropping the belly button to the floor, taking the gaze up towards the ceiling. And then reversing that, so exhale, sucking the belly button up.
away from the mat towards the spine and tucking the chin back to the throat. Continuing, make sure the weight is staying even in both palms. Inhale, looking up, gaze to ceiling, belly button to mat. Exhale to reverse, rounding up through the spine, making space between the shoulder blades, and chin tucking back towards the throat. Let's do 3 more here. And again, rather learn these moves more slowly, okay? So that you can pay attention of the transition, even the smallest movement between the vertebrae. Last round. Making sure you're back in a neutral spine, widen the knees, big toes touch, walking the hands forward, and softening back into your extended child's pose. Inhale, come back into that tabletop position for me, straightening out into your right leg. Okay. Notice my toes are still touching to the floor. I'm drawing that heel away from the body, so feeling active in the back of the leg. This is really important because when it comes to your standing postures like warrior, Virabhadrasana, we need to be active in the back legs. Also your high lunge, don't worry about it for now, but be aware, changing legs, so that when we come to reference this in the bigger standing postures, we've created an awareness in the muscle groups and in the nervous system. So imagine that heel is pushing into a wall behind you. And gently release. I'd like you to tuck the toes underneath you now. As you inhale, you're going to literally hover the knees just off the floor. The darker the shadow to the mat, the closer the knees, which is what we're working for. Okay, building strength for our chaturangas, for our sun salutations. And exhale, soften the knees down. We're going to do that 2 more times. Weight even into the palms, hovering the knees just off the mat. 2 more breaths. And exhale, soften back down. Good. 1 more time. Inhale, pressing up. Remember, slightest little lift off the mat. Keep the weight even through the palms. And exhale to soften down. From here, walking the legs back. With control, come to lower yourself all the way down onto the mat. Stack into the palms, one on top of the other, and then you're going to quite simply lower the forehead down to the hands and give the hips a little rock from side to side. So something I really struggled with when I first started yoga was understanding the progressions of cobra, up dog, different instructions. So we're going to start with baby cobra. There's a lot of compression in the lower back. So there are modifications, options to adjust with the feet that I'll talk you through, and you just work to where you feel comfortably challenged, okay? So a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but nothing that's going to create too much tension or be too strong in the body. Baby cobra, we're sliding the fingertips down so they're literally in line with the shoulders. For now, I'm keeping my feet wider, my toes tucked under. As you inhale, you're going to lift up and maintain a connection of the ribs and the hips to the floor. Keep looking directly over the tip of your nose, and then exhale, soften back down. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale to lift up, ribs and hips to the mat, squeezing those elbows to the ribs, and exhale, lowering down. 1 more time. Inhale to come up, keep looking directly over the tip of the nose, and exhale to lower down. We're going to add an additional layer, toes stay tucked under, inhale to come up, and this time float the palms away from the floor, holding here. Soften the hands and soften the chest back down. Inhale to press up, keep looking over the tip of the nose, float the palms. Normal to feel a little bit more challenged by breathing on these variations. Hands lower down and bring the full torso back to the floor. One more time, inhale to come up, relax in the shoulders, floating those palms off. And exhale to lower. Soften into the feet, stack into the palms, so one on top of the other again. Forward to the floor and gently rocking from side to side. If that felt comfortable, you are welcome to stay with the toes tucked under, or you can come onto the tops of the feet. We're going to come into a slightly larger cobra. So I find it easier to slide my fingertips down, more in line with the chest. Again, keeping the elbows hugging back to the ribs. Important that you have a sense whether the toes are tucked under or flat, that you're pushing with the feet back into the floor. So this time we're going to inhale, lift a little bit higher, but my hip bones are still connected to the floor, as are my thighs. Keep looking over the tip of the nose. And exhale to soften back down. Important to be active in the legs and the core. Inhale to press up through the palms. Relaxed in the shoulders, definitely bending in the elbows still. And exhale, soften back down. One more time, inhale to press up. And this time, as you exhale, turn your gaze to look past the shoulder. Inhale, come back to neutral. Exhale, looking past the other shoulder, relaxed in that upper body, good. Bringing the chin back to neutral, and exhale, soften back down. Stack into the palms, one on top of the other, feet are wider, and gently rock from side to side in the hips. As long as there's no discomfort in the lower back, we're going to bring the feet together. Otherwise, you repeat the same cobra variation that we did earlier. You really need to be aware that that belly button is drawing into the spine as we come into your up dog. Fingertips again are sliding down more in line with the chest. And you're going to inhale to press up, press into the palms, lifting the hips, lifting the thighs away. Again, as long as neck and lower back are feeling comfortable, look up towards the ceiling. Otherwise, stay neutral, looking over the tip of the nose. Elbows are not locked, there's a micro bend. And then exhale, bending into the elbows, lowering back down with control. Stack into the palms, widen the feet, and release into the lower back. If you felt okay with that, we're going to try it one more time. So bringing the big toes to touch. We're active, nice and strong in the back of the legs, sliding the hands down in line with the chest. We're hugging the elbows back to the ribs. Inhale to press up, weight even into the palms, tops of the feet, push back, my thighs are lifted, opening across the chest, dropping the shoulders from the ears. 2 more breaths. And then exhale, gently lowering down. And this time we're going to press into the palms, widen the knees, you've got it, and sitting back into your extended child's pose. Forehead resting comfortably to the floor. Inhale, gently pressing up, walking the knees forward, dropping to the side, and coming back into your seated position. We're going to come back to that butterfly variation. So soles of the feet are touching. The closer the heels, the stronger the stretch into the groin, further away, a little more forgiving. So feel it out for your body. Inhale long into the spine. Exhale, come forward. So we're always tucking that chin back to the throat. Stay relaxed in the upper body.
3 more breaths here. Inhale, gently release. Lifting the knees up, placing the feet flat. Fingertips are facing away from you, behind the body. As you exhale, drop the knees over to one side, trying to get them to touch and making a very definite pattern of 90 degrees from joint to joint. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, take it over to the other side. And if the knees perhaps aren't quite touching to the floor just yet, don't worry about that. We just want to create the pattern of internal rotation for the hips. Good. Inhale to come up. Exhale over to the other side. Gently release. One more to each side. Inhale to come up, over to the other side. Gently release. So coming to hug the knees nice and tightly, wrapping the forearms over the shins, opposite hand to elbow. Drop the forehead to the knees. Give a nice strong round into the upper back as much as you can. Exhale, gently release, hands to your side, and with control, you're going to lower yourself all the way down onto your full spine. Come to hug the knees to the chest, give yourself a gentle little rock from side to side. I know it might not feel like a lot of work on the lower back right now, but there's quite a lot that needs to respond from the nervous system, so we always go a little bit more slowly, and we always try to restore or reboot what we take out of the body. Circle the knees, massaging into the lower back. Changing direction. And as you inhale, think of making a tight ball, drawing the forehead towards the knees, tight squeeze with the body. And then exhale, gently release, extending the legs out. For your Shavasana or Shavasana, corpse pose, palms are preferably facing upwards, close to the body but not touching. Feet are open, hips are relaxed, okay? Chin is in a neutral position. Eyes are closed. You're going to start to activate into your diaphragmatic breath. So take the awareness to the navel area. If it helps, you're welcome to place your hand just underneath the belly button. So try to create the sensation and visualize the navel rising as you inhale, navel falling as you exhale, navel rising as you inhale, navel falling as you exhale. Just continue with that pattern of drawing deep, slow breaths, preferably lengthening the exhalation as much as possible, giving the relaxed response in the body a time to activate. Taking at least 3 more deep, full diaphragmatic breaths. Still with the eyes closed, come to lightly touch the thumb to each finger. We do this to come back into the physical body, to bring the awareness back into the present moment.
Softly circle into the wrists and the ankles, changing direction. You can bring the feet together. Inhale, reaching the arms overhead, taking a full body stretch. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. And then softly bend into the knees, rolling onto your right hand side, using the bottom arm to support the head. Staying here for a few breaths. And then very gently using your top arm to support the spine and pressing yourself back up into any comfortable seated position. So remember, cross-legged, easy pose, half lotus, whatever feels more natural, less demanding. We'll do palms facing down onto the knees. Inhale to prepare through the nose. Sigh it out through the mouth. And again. One more time. Bringing your hands to prayer. Namaste. The divine light in me recognizes the divine light